If they ain't cooking, I don't want it.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Ins and Out Deep podcast with your boy DT. Look, go ahead and follow me on Twitter and follow me on Instagram for many, many updates. Also, click and like and subscribe to the channel. The channel been booming past couple of days, I would say. Also, put a video recently. We'll be dropping it soon on Cam Ward, Fisher Shador Sanders Discourse as well. But this is a Commanders centric video for the Commanders fans, the Washington Commanders fan. We're going to go ahead and talk about some of the key targets I think the Washington Commanders will look at as some of the key things, guys, I think, in my opinion, we should take a swing on. So, obviously, we talk in the offseason for a lot of people who follow me on other podcasts and stuff like that. Some of the things that Washington is going to be trying to address, obviously, after a very magical season, going 12-5, winning playoff games for the first time, winning in the division round, and heading to the NFC Championship. Unfortunately, we lost against Philadelphia Eagles. So now we're heading into year 2 of the Adam Peters / Dan Quinn regime. Some key spots on this team that's going to need to be addressed to better this team, to make it a competitive, way more competitive team than last year. Because by far they got by with some holes, to be honest with you, especially on the defensive side of the football. So can Adam Peters do what he needs to do to address that side of the ball? Also on offense, I understand the offense was top 5 at almost every metric, but you also strengthen the strength. And there are definitely some key spots on the offense that we're going to look at as well to also better that offense and also further the development of a Jaden Daniels at quarterback. So this is just a couple, just the free agents that I think also we'll talk about a couple of key trade targets up here as well. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, as you can see, I have the spot track right up here. So as you can see, guys, there's a couple of names I see up here that I already like. All right, guys, so I have the spot track up here for you people. Let's go ahead and look at some of the names and stuff that definitely piqued my interest. Let's go ahead and start with the key position on offense. We're going to start with offense, and then we're going to go ahead and do the defense. First up, obviously, it's going to be wide receiver. Now, everybody's been talking about it. Obviously, the big key news past 24 hours has been T. Higgins has been tagged by the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, not tagged, but there's talks about tagging him. So I don't see the Commanders definitely making this move. I know this is like a lot of people's dream scenario right here, but me personally, I'm not paying T. Higgins. Me personally, I'm not paying him $33 million. That's just me though. But let's go ahead and look at some of the targets up here, man. So as you can see, it's not a crazy wide receiver free agency class. T. Higgins is the icing on the cake. You have Stephon Diggs coming off of the injury. Keenan Allen, he's also might leave Chicago. Amari Cooper just finished after being traded from Cleveland to Buffalo. And you got a couple of these. So these are some key targets that I would look at for Washington Commanders. But the first thing we're going to do is who will I bring back for Washington in the wide receiver room? Last year, the wide receiver room consists of Terry McLaurin, consists of Noah Brown, who signed late in the offseason, Luke McCaffrey, Muhammad Zacchaeus, De'Ami Brown, and Jamison Crowder. Jamison Crowder, Zacchaeus, Noah Brown, and De'Ami Brown. All four of those guys are free agents. Oh, and also Osborne. Quite frankly, all he did was block, respectfully. All five of those guys are going to be free agents. So that means you will only have two wide receivers that are under contract for the 2025 season. Now, if it was me, I'm sorry, Jameson, and I'm sorry, Zacchaeus. I like Zacchaeus, but I think we can do better in that spot. I think it'll come down between which Brown they prefer. Now, Noah Brown I would say, had a better relationship with Jaden, being thrust into the wide receiver two spot. He was the possession receiver. He was the guy making the tough grabs, getting the tough key catches on third down, uh, in the middle of the field, 6'2", play up to the standard he was when he was playing with Houston. Got thrust into that role when they had injuries as well. Also got some playing time for the Dallas Cowboys. So he has some production. But he did end the season with an injury, and I wonder how further along he is with that injury currently right now. But De'Ami Brown, De'Ami statistically had his best season as a Commander. If I'm not mistaken, I could definitely pull up his stats right here. We also look at the numbers as well. But De'Ami had a great year. For the first time in his career, he was able to be used effectively, correctly. Um, Shout out to Cliff Kingsbury for understanding what was his strengths for this team and being used wisely. So he definitely had a productive year. So I got the numbers right here. You probably can't see it up here, but De'Ami would finish the year with 30 catches, 308 yards, receiving 10.3 yards per reception, and he had one receiving touchdown, and his longest was a 51-yard bomb against Philadelphia Eagles. Meanwhile, Noah Brown had 35 catches, 453 yards, receiving 12.9 yards per catch, one touchdown, which was obviously the Hail Mary. So the numbers are actually pretty similar, to be honest with you. Now, the only difference I would say is when it comes to first down, Noah Brown had 21 first downs compared to De'Ami's 13, but they also had different skill sets. Noah Brown is a possession receiver. De'Ami Brown is the vertical threat. But they also use De'Ami on end arounds. They also use De'Ami on screens. They also use him on the goal ball. They started to use De'Ami to what he was strong at, and that's what led to his production. So, to be quite honest with you, I would understand if they move off of De'Ami, but me personally, I would probably bring De'Ami back for him to be my wide receiver 4. I would bring De'Ami to be my wide receiver 4. But if they bring Noah Brown back to be wide receiver 4, I wouldn't have a problem with that as well. You do need someone that can be a guy that can sit in the zone, understand zone coverage, and be a guy that can help in the middle of the field. But we'll also talk about some trade candidates as well on this podcast. So let's go back up here. So if it was me, I'm going to say I would bring De'Ami back because he's a little bit younger, and I think he's going to start hit his stride in this offense. Now, if you don't bring Diami back, because what Diami offers is the vertical threat, you do have a guy. You do have a guy like Marquise Brown, who played under Cliff Kingsbury, played in that air raid system. Been hearing a lot of chatter about Darius Slayton, possibly being a target for the Commanders. Um, I don't love it, but me personally, I wouldn't be mad at it either because at the end of the day, guys, like we need someone that has production, and Slayton has been productive despite of the quarterback he's had to deal with. He played with Daniel Jones, and he's been productive. Now he has some type of errors in there, but I think Darius Slayton is a solid wide receiver. He ain't got to be the greatest wide receiver in the world. It's okay. So we go down this list. We're still looking. Uh, Nelson Aguilar, no, not really high on him. DJ Chalk, not really into that. Okay, so now I see a guy up here who's 27 years old. Um, he offers size at the position. I said in the group chat, this is a guy that definitely to me would scream a Adam Peters signing on a minimum deal. Nick Westbrook Akine. Nick Westbrook Akine is wide receiver for the Titans. He actually plays faster than what the physicals indicate. He looks like a giant possession receiver, but he has wheels to get past the defender. He had the 90 plus yard touchdown this year for the NFL season against the Vikings. So I wouldn't be shocked if you see a guy like this get signed to complement the wide receiver room. And then as you see, we go further along. Rondale Moore, he played also in Arizona under Cliff Kingsbury. Unfortunately he had a bad injury in Atlanta, which is why he didn't play this year. Tutu Atwell, 25 years old. He'll kind of be more like the Tutu Atwell will be more like a Zacchaeus and a Crowder, but I don't think he has the same veteran savviness like a Crowder. Then we go further down the list. Okay, you see Jameson Crowder, as I mentioned as well. You see Lamar Zacchaeus. Josh Palmer is also probably a guy that sounds like a Adam Peters type of signing. 25 years old, been productive playing in Los Angeles with Justin Herbert. Then you see De'Ami Brown, who's also 25 years old. Then you go down here with Noah Brown. Then you had Juju Schuster. I'm just the last couple of names I just said. Those are names I'm just reading what's left in the market. But I also think another key factor as well. They're going to need to find a kick returner, just in case. You need to. I would say find another kick returner opposite of. Excuse me for that. I would find another kick returner opposite of Luke McCaffrey. So that way, a guy like Eckler doesn't have to be back there taking them nasty hits, because 2 times he's been back there, that's where he got concussed at. And then we go down further the list. This is where you're like, okay, yeah. I mean, only interesting name left is when we talk about kick returners is Kevontae Turpin. I actually see Dallas signing him. Sees right here, he's a restricted free agent, so I kind of expect him to come back. But those are just a couple of names that I think would sounds like Adam Peters signings. Look like the pink, but me personally, I would probably add at least. I think they're going to add maybe 3 wide receivers. I think 1 to 2 of them in a minimum deal. One of them for a decent contract. To me personally, I'll bring De'Ami Brown back, and then excuse me. I would bring Diami. To be honest with you, I think I would do this. And this to me makes the most sense. I would sign and trade. I would sign wide receiver free agency. I would trade for a wide receiver who is going to be on the trade market, like a Cooper Cup. Potentially, there's talks about Christian Kirk getting released. Debo Samuel. I would trade with a guy, then sign a guy like Diami back on the roster, and then you would draft another wide receiver. But that's probably what I would do to address some of the needs at the wide receiver spot. Now, let's go ahead and look at. Let's go ahead and look at. Let's go ahead and look at the tackle position. Now, we're looking at tackles because there has been some talks lately about the possibility of letting go Andrew Wiley to free some cap space. There's also a possibility um, of, Lucas might walk in free agency. Um, they can find a way to better that position. Now, the other discourse has been the whole talk about Brandon Coleman moving him to the inside. Now, me personally, and I've talked with guys like Deuce from Red Zone in the Lab. I talked to guys in the group chat. Me personally, I don't move Brandon Coleman unless they find someone that's better than him, and he's officially LT1. Because you don't want to get in the territory where you're constantly trying to find guys to fill a spot, and they're no better than what you already have. And Brandon Coleman is still a young player. He's still a guy. That was his rookie year, and yes, he did give up 9 sacks. Yes, obviously his PF grade, for those that really care about that, was not there. But despite all that, he was still, to me, the second best rookie tackle in this class, behind Joe Alt. Behind Joe Alt. So I think that's definitely something that they'll consider. They need depth on the O line in general, but I think also with the injury to Sam Cosby, they're going to have to find someone that can fill in that spot. So there could be some type of rotation. So here are a couple of names I see could be, in my opinion, potential targets. I'm going to tell you right now. Look, no, I ain't signing Tyron Smith, and no, I'm not signing Morgan Moses. Those ships are sailed. Now, if I can get off of that thing happening. Okay, so I see a Cam Robinson played for the Minnesota Vikings. He got traded to Minnesota, I believe, in the season. He was playing with Jacksonville. Now, Ronnie Stanley just had his first full season without a lot of injuries. He's a solid vet. He is past couple of years he's been up and down at that spot, but he's still solid. Now that's probably somewhere where they can consider, like, okay, maybe we can have him play for a couple of years. Then you can. I don't know why I've been coughing lately. Ooh, I hope I ain't got that stuff where the snow get here. Good God Almighty! But that's a guy that could potentially play at the left tackle spot, and whatever they want to do with Brandon Coleman, that's what they could do. Jarek Willis. I don't know what happened to him. He's still young. He's 25 years old. If OG Bobby Johnson could potentially get some out of him, but that's definitely a risk. Aldrick Jackson, I think he's probably one of the top tackles that teams will be looking at. Cornelius Lucas, I think they're going to be open to bringing him back. DJ Humphries did play um under Cliff for a couple of seasons. Then you get down here, you got a couple of guys. Josh Jones also played under Cliff when he was in Arizona. Got drafted by Arizona with Cliff. Dylan Randon. I see someone bring him up the other day. I'm gonna have to look at him how he looked with PDF grade wise. Trenton Scott played. He played okay. They might bring him back as well. Then you get down the list. You got guys like Michael Dunn, Cody Ford, Chuma. This guy from Dallas. Maybe Dan Quinn Connect played a couple years there. Then once you get down the list, you're like, it's a huge risk. But not really fond of some of the names I'm seeing after the first couple. But it was me. Best case scenario, if you're looking at tackle, I think you have to go with the vet, Ronnie Stanley, or Audrey Jackson. Those are probably the two names I would look at. But I'll be cool if they bring back Cornelius Lucas as a swing tackle as well. Let's go ahead and look at guard, because guard is going to be interesting when it comes to the left guard and the right guard. Now, Nick Allegretti had a solid season. However, I don't believe he's the type of person you want starting consistently at that spot. I think his ceiling at best is just going to be a backup center in a sense. I mean, not center, backup guard. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. That brings depth into you. So let's see some of the guard options. So it's funny because I seen a video the other day of Commander content creator talking about the likes of bringing Zach Martin. I don't see that happening. Brandon Sheriff, some people talked about that on the internet. No. So you have James Daniel. Probably got to ask Guru about him. Kevin Zeitler played very productively for a couple years in the NFL. Maybe you sign him for a stopgap until Cosby get healthy. You got Will Hernandez. He also crossed paths with Cliff Kingsbury. Herngeg played 6 years in the NFL for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben Bredesen played 5 years, 25. Mekhi Becton. Now, Mekhi Becton, shout out to him, man. Shout out to the VA kid. He's reshaped his career and had a great year. First time playing guard and playing with Philadelphia Eagles. I think he's going to – there's a chance he might go back to Philadelphia. But I also know last year a lot of people wanted to get him on the offensive line. Even John Kahn even said as himself, no, they were not looking at him. So maybe their mind changed a little bit if they self-scout and self-evaluate. And there could be a possibility of him, he might be one of those guys you bring in and have a good payday. All right, sorry for the technical difficulties. Obviously, you see this little cut is because I had to get stuff ready for the snowstorm. Also, y'all be safe during this storm, y'all. But yeah, looking at the guard position, really only see maybe like 3-4 guys. You got Robert Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Evan Brown, Aaron Banks played for the 49ers. Relationship with Adam Peters, that could be intriguing. Not a lot of names, but honestly, not a lot of people are going to supposed to pop off at you. What the job for Peters is supposed to do is to fill the roster with guys that fit what they're supposed to do, fit what they want to accomplish. So the tackle and the guard spot, they could probably address that some shape or form in free agency, but I also think they can address it in the draft. Now, let's go to defensive line. I'm going defensive line because obviously Look, biggest topic at hand is trying to trade for Myles Garrett. Me personally, we need to pull that off. And get a Myles Garrett, but there's also some names that could intrigue you as edge rusher. I'm already going to start saying no to Chase Young. Yes, that's crazy. Um, got Josh Sweat, uh, Chesapeake native up here. He might be asking for a big contract. DeMarcus Lawrence played for Dallas. He has too many injuries to me, and when I think about that, like yes, he's disruptive, but if he was to come here, I wouldn't have him really as a starter. I'll really have him as like a backup pass rusher. To be honest with you, uh, you also going down the list. Not a lot of names pop off really. Cleve Farrell. Cleve Farrell's more of a run defender. I don't see him coming back. Dante Fowler. Dante Fowler. It could be a chance we re-sign him. He's always loved playing under Dan Quinn. Everywhere he has gone. But I also see him for having that year. He might, not match that money. So I wouldn't be shocked if Fowler comes back on like a 1 year deal, surplus deal, but wouldn't be also shocked if he leaves. And as we see, defensive tackle might need to be addressed as well. The depth wise. So as I look, I seen somebody post on him, Trayshawn Ward. He had a couple of good plays and snaps. So we'll see about that. Defensive tackles, we got 32-year-olds hanging who played under Dan Quinn. I do not welcome that at all. I want to get younger at the position. Adam Butler played for the Raiders, 30 years old. Maurice Hurt. Puna Ford. Azeez Ojulari is someone I would keep my eye on. This guy as well, Deo Oding. Who? I'm gonna just say Deo. I think those two guys as well could be some guys to look at. 25 years old. Ojulari played in this division with us. Could be an edge rusher that could definitely help if we don't re-sign a Fowler. And as I go down this list, Milton Williams and Osa, those two dudes are my guys that I would love for them to be signed to Washington. I think we have the money to pull the trigger, obviously. I think one of my dream scenarios is getting some guys from our division, I would say. But those are two names I will watch. Milton, he probably wouldn't want to play in Washington, but that's the one I would keep my eye on. Malcolm Kuhn, 26 years old. I think you should always try to go and sign younger guys at those positions. And Sheldon Day played with us last year. He played fairly well for us at the defensive tackle position, but I still want to go younger. I still want to get somebody that can help us. And I'm still looking around. It's not a lot of names. Jalen Holmes played last year with us. Not a lot of names really that pop off outside the other guys. So, yeah. So, defensive tackle is honestly, you can say the defensive tackle position in the draft is what's probably going to hurt this market. I would say how deep the defensive tackle class is going to make some of these guys not really get the opportunity, I would say, to sign to the lucrative deal, to be quite honest with you, when you could draft a replacement. Okay, so we looked at wide receiver, we looked at tackle, we looked at guard, we looked at defensive line. Let's go ahead and look at linebackers overall. Now, obviously, I do believe they're going to bring back Bobby Wagner. But if I am Adam Peters, here are a couple of guys that intrigue me. Khalil Mack, if you sign him to a 1 year deal, would be great. Mm, apparently, there's a ESPN report talking about Hassan Reddick will be a great fit with us. I'll probably say that if this was like 2022, I don't know if he. I believe he fits what we do, but I don't know if they're even interested in signing a guy like him. But here's the guy right here, Mr. Crash Out, Dre Greenlaw. You can sign Dre Greenlaw for the Commanders with a Bobby. Well, actually, I think some people would prefer to just sign Greenlaw over Bobby Wagner, which I get it. I get it. But I would love to have Dre Greenlaw, man. The only concern with Greenlaw has been injuries. Then once you see, I think after that, Zach Bond had a crazy year for Philadelphia. I definitely think he's going to be a target for back. Uche was a guy I wanted in the trade deadline, but he has not panned out. He had that one crazy year. After that, he hasn't been the same guy, to be honest with you. But still looking around, Joe Tryon, I think he was a first round pick. Definitely released that contract. Once you get down the list of names, it definitely does not. Nick Bolden. Nick Bolden's right here, but I think he'll definitely get re-signed. Yeah, so the linebacker market is definitely bare. They do need to sign or draft a guy for depth at the Mike linebacker. Hopefully, they're able to do that. Because I look at some of these names up here. But like I said, man, you never know what AP has in mind for these positions. I think realistically, they sign Bobby Wagner back and they draft another linebacker. They drafted McGee last year. He was getting first team reps, but the injury came out of nowhere, happened, and he only played special team. I do believe they will address that position again in the draft. And I think they'll figure something out. But I think the dream scenario for me would be for if you're talking about outside linebackers that's really like a rusher, I'm looking at maybe like a Khalil Mack if you don't get if you don't get a Myles Garrett, I think Khalil Mack will be very good for us. I like Hassan Reddick, but I don't know. Let me know your thoughts about if we would acquire a guy like Hassan Reddick to the team. So now let's go to the cornerback room, the next biggest weakness. So I know a lot of people are giving Marshawn Lattimore heat, but I'm willing to give Marshawn a whole year of him actually being healthy and let's see what he can do within the system. But I think the other thing is you got to address the other side of the corner. Mike Sanders still had a great rookie year, but I still believe they want to put him in the inside of the defense. Noah Iganagabi played very well in the inside slot. I will bring him back for depth, but I'm looking at these top three names right here, and even a Byron Murphy. If you can get one of these guys to go on the outside of a Lattimore, I think that helps elevate that defense good enough. And we just need to think about the pass rush. Carlton Davis, Jarius Ward, DJ Reed, Byron Murphy. Those are guys on a target. Now, if we're talking about depth, like I said, I would bring Noah Economically back. a couple of guys played for the 49ers, man, with Mosley. There's a possibility he could be a target as well. I know they were interested in Ian last year, but he went to the 49ers. So keep your eye on that. I would love to be interested with Asante Samuel Jr. as well. Incredibly young player that still has some skill set, but we'll see. And Paulson Debo, I don't know how people feel about Paulson Debo. He's good, but I heard a lot of people try to say he's kind of the same as Marshall Lattimore, which I definitely disagree. Um, and then after that, you probably got a couple of guys you would sign for depth here. Yeah, so I got a couple of targets at corner that I definitely would look at. Let's look at the safety spot because obviously key thing will be trying to bring back Jeremy Chin. More to me, more than likely, Chin is coming back on a long term extension, but I think you also got to look for depth just in case. Let's see who's out here for depth wise. A couple of guys look like they started. Trayvon Moorhead. Oh, he's a free agent. And when I look at some of these names, I just imagine what would they do in a Dan Quinn style defense? Because clearly, some of the people we signed, like a Frankie Louvu and a Jeremy Chin, they have elevated their careers to being household names now. Now, of course, with Jeremy Chin, he started off great, but then once multiple defenses, coordinators, multiple head coaches and stuff started to fall out of favor. But I think he loves playing for Dan Quinn, man. Derek Forrest is a free agent, so I wonder depth wise where would they go? It's a couple of names. Maybe they'll potentially sign, but this is another guy that played with San Francisco, Hufunga, but he's definitely a starter. But injuries have been his biggest nemesis so far. So, be interesting to see how they would address if they sign Jeremy Chin back. Great, but what would you do with the depth? And the final spot, I'm gonna look at. Look, I'm just gonna do it. Look, y'all, we need a kicker, bro. I'm on the podcast Sunday. We up here talking about drafting a kicker in the 7th round, and we're showing kicker highlights. Very nasty work. So Austin Seibert started off with us. We traded for him for Cleveland, I believe. He was cooking good until the injury, and the one thing I noticed about him was when he had to kick longer than 45 plus yards, his foot literally had to hit the dirt to kick the ball. You got to find someone with a stronger leg. Zane Gonzalez filled in after the injury, and he missed a couple of kicks as well. I'm not high as him. And, oh, my God, really, that's all you have? Oh, shoot, maybe we do have to draft a kicker. Yeah, might have to draft a kicker. Yeah, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Okay, so there are a couple of names that you've seen out there. Definitely would pique my interest as a Washington Commander fan. But it's all up to Adam Peters and what they do. It's all up to them what they do and how they process it. Also, while it's on my head, I also think another wide receiver that I saw there as well. I'll be cool with signing Chris Godwin as well. I forgot to mention that as well up there. But look, man, you click the like and subscribe to the channel. That's all I got for y'all tonight. This is Ins and Out Deep podcast with your boy DT. Follow me on Twitter, D Clean Jr. Follow me on Instagram at DT_Sensei. That's all I got for you guys tonight. We'll see you next time for another episode. I'm getting things popping this offseason, y'all. Shout out to everybody supporting me for the channel, and I hope to see you guys next time. Y'all stay safe during this winter storm. Apparently, we're supposed to be getting like 10 feet of snow or something like that. But y'all stay safe and have a good night.
If they ain't cooking, I don't want it.